So if I understand the Bible right, it's a very spiritual thing to take seriously physical fitness. Because my body is a creation of God, and I've got to care for it as a steward. My body is a temple of God that is made to reflect His glory to the world. My body is an offering to God, and I've got to give Him the best I can and have. So, what do we do? It occurs to me there are 3 places we need to make very careful choices that we're honoring God. The first place is in the kitchen. Do we honor God in the kitchen? The food we buy to put in the kitchen, the food we use in the kitchen to put into our mouths and into our body, do we know how many calories we ought to be consuming? Do we know what blend those calories ought to be in the way of food groups? Do we know? If we're going to really honor God with our bodies, it probably starts in the kitchen with what I put into my body. A second place we need to honor God is in the exercise room. It's absolutely critical that we exercise our bodies. It's fascinating. 1 Timothy chapter 4 says, bodily exercise profits a little, but godliness proffers in all things, having the promise in this world and the world to come. So often misunderstood. He's saying the reason that exercising yourself to be godly trumps exercising yourself physically is the godly stuff not only benefits the here and now, it benefits all eternity. But don't miss the point. Exercising your body benefits in the here and now. In this little window of time we have where we can do things for God. Are we getting the right amount of exercise? Do you know that the latest studies indicate that if we will just take a brisk walk for 1 hour 3 times a week, we reduce our risk of the major killers in America by over 30%. If we'll do it 5 times a week or jog rather than walk, we reduce it by over 50%. Are we honoring God in the exercise room with what we do with our bodies? And how about the bedroom? Because we all know what we do in the bedroom, right? We sleep. What were you thinking? Are we getting enough sleep? Are we?
No.
Did you know that there is a 27% greater likelihood that a man will die in the next decade if they get 6 hours or less than if they get 7 or 8 hours or more? They are beginning to learn that many of Americans' primary health risks go up exponentially when they are not getting enough sleep. If we're going to steward our bodies, we've got to do it in the kitchen, we've got to do it in the exercise room, we've got to do it in the bedroom. We just have to do it. And if we're going to renovate our lives into being solid people, honoring God, it begins with the very thing that we're going to do everything else in, the one little body we've got. You know, Jesus had a body. And when you study the life of Jesus, if you read between the lines, if you look at what he actually did, you have to come to this conclusion. The man was physically fit. He was physically strong. Not only what he did and how he did it, but what he endured, what it took to actually end his life. He was amazingly strong as a person. And yet, you know what he did with that body? He used it up on a cross to atone for your sin and mine. We're going to conclude our service this morning by observing something we call communion, the Lord's Supper. And everyone is welcome to participate. But I want us to understand what we're doing. Because these elements, this bread and this juice, there's not one thing in them that can earn us any credit with God, that can wash even one single sin away. They're just metaphors. They're object lessons. Because they point to the one and only thing that can get us standing with God, that can wash sin away. And that's the sacrifice of Jesus when he used up his body and spilled his blood to die, to atone for all of our transgressions, so that we would be forgiven, brought into a relationship with God, and in partnership with him, do life right and live with him forever when we left this world. And the reason we do this is just to remember the sacrifice he made, that we might be reminded to live a life worthy of the sacrifice he made. So what we'll do is we'll watch a music video. And while the video is playing, if you'd like, you can make your way up to the front, or you can make your way to the tables in the aisle and just get a piece of bread and a little cup of juice and take it back to your seat. And then when the video is done, we'll pray and we'll eat and drink together. And then after that, we'll sing a final song together. But as we do it, we need to remember the price Jesus paid for us. And if he was willing to give up his body that we might have life, would we be willing to take care of our bodies to help bring his life to a world that so desperately